Yeah, ready?
Yes. Welcome to London's craziest gangster with me, Mr.Fish, keeping a dead man's Bible where all the rules of society thrown, tossed and washed away. Whose motto is, if angels fly and devils die, how come I'm still alive? Well, today, as you can see, welcome to Wandsworth. Wandsworth was the main hardcore prison in London. It was the Prison Officers Association. This was their shit. This was where it all. This held AA cats, A cats, B cats, C cats. When I first got my first bird in 1986 and came to Wandsworth, that was when I met Frankie Fraser. Most people who speak about Frankie Fraser talk to him, may use colourful language, but for me personally, Frankie was always a nice, polite and gentleman. And Frankie took me under his wing. And what happened here was, I was always very polite, respectful. At that time, as I said to people, I was only a donor. I was never a villain at that time. And Frankie, he was in 810 and I was in 89. And Frankie, always, his cell was spotless. But to be honest, at this time, I didn't know Frankie Fraser. I had no idea what he was about, who he was, or nothing, or his son. And what happened was, we used to slop out in 1986, yeah? So you have a shit in the bucket, in the pot here, go down reception, yeah? Yeah, get the shit, put it down the slush well, yeah? Oh, mate, it stunk, trust me, it stunk, yeah? Take it all back, yeah? Every day, yeah? And then you get loads of shit parcels, yeah? Out the road, you get loads of shit parcels, yeah? So crash house your father, yeah? What happened was, one day I'm going to slop out, so every morning I get up. So I get up every morning, have my pot, come out, and then I come out. I go, morning to you, sir. And stop out, go back to the Peter and back. Then I come again every morning. Morning to you, sir. Stop out, and go back. So anyway, one day, Mr. Apps, his name was, one day he said, Fish? I said, yes, sir. He said, may I have a word? I said, no problem, sir. He said, why is it every morning you get up, you come out your cell, you have a smile on your face, and you walk to the slush out, you say good morning to me, and you return back to your cell? I said, oh, well, sir, it's all about the 2 R's, sir. He said, the 2 R's, Mr. Fish? I said, yes, sir. He said, what's the 2 R's? I said, well, sir, I'm one day nearer to release, and you're one day nearer to retirement. So we're both free, sir. and Frankie saw me do this, and Frankie, he pulled me aside and said, come here, son. And I was like, I didn't know who he was, I think. He said, I like the way you carry on, son. You're good stuff. I've seen you about. He said, come here, let me teach you. So he took me to his cell, and his cell was nothing. He just had a bed. So he just had the bed there, which was to the floor. He had the cupboard, and all he had at that time, and it was quite new because it was 86, so all he had at that time was a Roberts radio. I remember that for Frankie. He had a Roberts radio, and I didn't have a radio. We weren't that rich, you know what I mean? And so crash house your father. Right, he had no pictures on the wall or nothing, and he said to me, he said, do me a favour, son, when you're doing bird, understand you're doing bird, okay? So you don't put pictures on the wall. No. You don't put pictures on the wall. You don't put none of your possessions out on the side. He said you put them all in a box. And he said what happens is when you're doing bird, you always have to remember that you're away from your family. So you have to cut your family off. And so that way you put all your possessions in the box, under the bed, right? And you're walking out, right, march the landings, march the landings. Yeah, march. Master landing, yeah. And then you get banged up, you go in your Peter, yeah. Door shut. It's after 8 PM. Screws ain't coming in, yeah. Pull out the box, and you know, yeah, well, crash. And you need a lovely letter from your missus. Hi, Benny. I really missed you long time. I can't believe you nicked that Mars bar and got 18 months. But we're waiting for you. And we brought a 6-pack so you won't have to nick a Mars bar again. And you put it back under the yeah. And bam. You in that way, no one can't get into you. When you have letters on the wall, or pictures on the wall of your wife, your missus, other people then come in, see that, and then they start to try and engage, talk to you, talk to them, get their number. Before you know it, your girlfriend's now going out with another prisoner. Do you know what I mean? And it happens. And so you always keep her. Secondly, if the screws come in your Peter, which we call the cell because it was made by Peter Say, who invented the safes for Bentham, and you gotta remember when the screws come in and they got the right arm with you, they start fucking throwing all your kit in a bag, banging all your stuff in and ripping all your letters up, yeah? You gotta know that if your stuff is packed properly, they can't do all that, do you understand? Another great thing one I had for me, as I told you, I was always the champion of people. Now it's 96 and I've been nicked for a police gun. Now, out the police armoury. Now the headache with this situation, this story is, when you get arrested with a police gun, you have to know that they're gonna be on it. Just to make it, reiterate it again, on it. And so crash, when we went in there, I knew at this stage, I knew that, listen, we couldn't trust no one or anything. The only grace about that gap is I know everybody in there. Most nicks I go, I know everybody. That's the only saving grace. Now, what happened was, I knew they were gonna, you know, they might bug the cell. I knew they were going to do everything properly because they needed to know what policeman is giving out guns, because these guns can be used against them. So I knew that we're going to be top priority and headache. So what happened was, crash, I wouldn't speak in the cell, I wouldn't do nothing. And then I had my mate, Julian Bell. Now Julian, what happened was, Julian had a court case, and I remember one of the letters, and this is what I say about documentation, we can be very careful. I remember one out of his file, some of the paperwork was missing, and he thought that his co-defendant, we call it Cody, he thought his Cody had grasped him. So he's going mad, he's fighting all the screws, he's gone mad, and I'm like, you know what, I can't do this no more. He's doing my effing nothing. And I was there with Julian Belton and PK, so we're a crew, yeah? So crash out your father, gone, right, F this. I go, okay, Jules, I'm going to move in. We call Jules, Julian Jules. So I said, right, I'm going to move in with you, Jules. So me and Jules moved in, and then I started doing all this paperwork, because that's what I do. I do everyone's legal paperwork. And I started going through it and going, look, this is wrong, that's wrong. So Julian, he calmed down. But the problem with this place is you always have to remember, if you cause shit in the beginning, the screws will hurt you in the end. And when I moved in with him, now he's calmed down, he's not causing trouble. I told Julian, the screws are going to come to him to get to me, because they're going to say, how come this guy has managed to do to him what we can't do? What's the difference? So they thought in order to get to me, they were going to smash Jules. So what's happened is we've gone on association, and no, what happened is, one of the prisoners, something happened and he's knocked on the wall, and he said something to me. He said something like, listen, are you with me? Are you shouting at me saying, do you want it with me? So I said to the fellow, listen, don't listen, don't be chatting through walls and all that, mate, giving all that large, you know what I'm saying? Let's go on the landing, let's get on the landing, we sort it out, do you know what I mean? I'm banging on the wall, shouting for the window, let's get on the landing. So I've come out now, the landing, and I've gone boom into Peter. I'm going, right, what's happening? And he's going, what do you think? So I've gone crash, crash, crash. You know the rules, yeah? But what it is, it's gone onto the landing, so I went crack, 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 crack. So anyway, the street seaters, because somebody's all gone down, started walking off the landing, just split up different directions. But as me and George are going down, the screws have grabbed Julian and they knocked back. I knew but it was all right, he knew it was coming. And they started smashing Julian, pretending that he was involved. It was their way of getting him. So they took him down the block and then they sent him back to me. But, you know, we knew what was going, so it weren't too bad. Then the next one was quite funny because, like I said, I know everybody in there, so we were all the boys. So what happened was, there was a great big block school here, 6'2", built up called Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is a good man once you get to know him, but mate, before you know, he can be an absolute. He was an hard bastard, a big lump, took liberties. And so one day we're on association. Association is normally after 5, 6 o'clock, you come out on the landing, you can have association, and then you mix with your mates, play snooker, table tennis, things like that, depending on what prison you're on and what they offer an association. So crash hours your father. All the in Mono in there, you have kind of 4 landings, and the officers, they stand on certain points and they can look down. So the association's on the ground floor, so they'll be looking over, looking the wing, making sure that no one's doing anything Scott done. And if it goes that way, another officer will be looking that way, and so they'll be back to back. They're called wing staff. So officers that do that are called wing staff. They operate that wing. They're in charge of that wing. Mr. Morris was a block screw. And what Mr. Morris done, Mr. Morris came all along and went, right, how are you lot? Get away, yeah? And he went, boom. And he stood on this black geezer's toe, yeah, for no reason, yeah? Just stood there. And go on, get away. And I thought, you know what? So I've gone, Mr. Morris, you see when you say, get behind your door, do you mean on the other side of the door, or this side of the door, and what door? Mate, I could feel the whole wing. I could feel every prison officer on that landing looking at me, yeah? And they're looking at me thinking, Fish, what are you doing, yeah? So they're looking at Fish, what are you doing? So anyway, Mr. Morris now, so everyone started to go away and all the officers are putting us away. So we've gone back. So at this time, I was in a 4-man dorm. And crash, everyone, after everyone went, the door's unlocked, it's Mr. Morris. He said, come here, Fish. So I come outside. And he went, I know you think they're mugs, right? But we're gonna do you. And funny enough, it's the first time I really ever put on a prisoner cell. I said, look here, you fucking piece of shit. You think I'm like these fucking cunts here, a little nobody and nothing to fucking do? I'll go through the bars. I'll go through the computers. I'll sign you. I'll hurt everything you ever loved, seen, heard and touched. I said, don't do it. Now, one of the great things in my favour was I used to have a security firm, 136 jackets, and a couple of his boys were officers, a couple of my screws were officers, yeah? So they knew what I was about, and my boys used to come up and they were all 6'2", built like man, Irish, black, white, English, proper on it, yeah? And so, when I said it to him, he goes, right, get in there. Anyway, we have cleaners in prison, and what happened with the cleaners was they're always out like all day when the other prisoners are locked up. And one of the cleaners came back and banged the door. Yeah. What's up, son? He went, Fish. He went and got to get the other officers to come and do you. But they all went, nah, we're not coming. These boys are only across the road, you know what I mean? On it, you know what I mean? On it. So anyway, that was that one there. And the funniest one I've got to tell you from this gaffer's man. Anyway, so what happened now because of this incident, Mr. Morris sent me to an officer. Those of you who have been at Wandsworth will know what I'm talking about. Mr. Stewart, the one with the gimp leg, yeah? It's proper soul. Proper soul. On it, in the game. Gangster, yeah? So anyway, crash. I've been shipped over out of this 4-man cell. They put me in with a right trap because they thought, right, we're going to get this geezer this way. We're going to do him this way, yeah? We're going to put him in with a right trap. So crash out your father, this geezer don't wash, he stinks, yeah, he don't wash his plate. A bit like me before I was a YouTuber. So anyway, yeah, crash, yeah. So I'm talking to this fella, I'm washing all his clothes, I'm washing all his plates up, I'm keeping the cell, he stinks, the whole landing, everyone's looking at me, fish. I tell you, he was he went round picking up scrap, this fella, and I don't know why he found himself in prison, but he did. And I was walking around on the yard, poking on the yard, zipping, he don't give a shit. And so they realised that weren't working, and then what happened was, Mr. Stewart said, "Fish, tuck your shirt in, yeah, or there'd be a fight." So I thought he'd just, I said, oh, I love a fight, yeah? I love a fight, yeah, so crash out your father. I thought nothing of it. He went, yeah, well, make sure, yeah, you shut your mouth, you monkey. Wow, well, no tactics now, yeah? Oh, I'm a monkey now, yeah? No tactics, okay, no problem. So crash out your father, I come out now, they got banged up. They've unbanged me, and as they've unbanged me, crash, they've unbanged me, yeah? I've gone down to the officer's office, yeah? And what's happening now, yeah? The officers, where they all gather. All the officers gather, they write their reports and all that, and each landing, sometimes on the ones, but some prisons you can do, and each landing has an office. And what's happened is, crash, I've knocked the door, they're all in there, yeah? I've knocked the door, and crash, I've gone, excuse me, gentlemen. So they all look at me now, they know Mr. Stewart's called me a monkey, yeah, they know, yes, anyway, yeah. So I go, excuse me, gentlemen. I said, today, one of the white shirt administration today said, I stink and look like a monkey. Now, this didn't really hurt me. It more confused me. You see, I thought he was a prison officer and not a zookeeper. Good day to you. I walked off here. I had to laugh. The whole office fell on the floor. And Mr. Stewart goes, come here, bro. And he shook my hand. He said, I'll pull it. I said, go. Listen, I've seen it all and done it all. Names ain't gonna kill me. Come on. No, and it was fun with the gang of friends. Now, remember, I'm inside now. Point 38 Smith and Weston. Police going out of the army. So I know. Now what happens is I know everybody. Whether they sell heroin, coke, this, drugs, guns. I know everybody in Nick, yeah? That's the way it is, yeah? So what it is now, yeah? I was talking to, there was a guy called Jay and he sold to Brown. Now Brown in 1996 in prison was a looked down upon drug. It was kind of taboo. Because people always say if you're on those Class A substances, then you're a bit of grass or you won't be able to hold your cluckings. And so Brown was, and also Brown in prison in there. Another thing you have to remember, if there was Brown, you couldn't always get lots of it in. So those that knew it was him would always keep it quiet. They never want other people to know. So crash out your father. Crash out your father, yeah? What's happened is, yeah? Crash out your father, what's happened now, yeah? I've now got this thing. I've gone, oh, hello, Jay. Now, see when you're in the game, there's not so much as now, but before. There are certain codes, walks, and talk you know from the street, you have to know. Now, this time in Seaman, yeah, what happened was, this time in Seaman, Seaman was a remand. And when you was on remand in Seaman, what happened was, you had to wear your own clothes. You couldn't wear prison. Now, when I talked to Jay and said, "Hi, Jay, how are you?" This guy came in and said, "Here, Jay, you won't forget mine, will you?" And the moment he'd done that, I thought, you know what? Something's not right here. And I thought, I looked at this guy, I thought, something ain't right. I thought, you know what, yeah? You wouldn't do that. So anyway, it just clicked in my head. I thought, let me just tweet this guy. Anyway, this guy, he used to bowl about like that. Parts there, big gold chops on, you know, bowl all over the yard, yeah. But he had appreciate. But the problem was, he didn't know no one. And that's another thing in prison. When you're in prison, yeah, when you're in prison, what happens is, yeah, crash, what happens is, everyone should know someone. And if you don't, yeah, then it means that you're in the wrong game. No matter who you are in life, no matter what crime you committed, yeah, everybody knows someone, okay? Now this guy, the problem with him was, whenever we went on exercise yards, yeah, so this is the exercise yard, what he would do, he would just sit there. He would sit on the corner. He would just sit on the corner reading a book, yeah, while all the rest of us are walking about. And the screws are there and he's sitting here. But all the rest of the prisoners are over there, so already I'm like, this guy ain't right. You gotta remember he's bouncing around with the gold chops and he's walking like a gaff, yeah? So I thought, all right, cool. So I kept an eye on it. I said to the boys, we'll watch it. We knew the police were going to do something like that. We understood. We knew where we were. Anyway, most of you lot who know me will know I've got one hell of a laugh. That's a false one, right? It sort of sound like that, yeah. So crash out your phone. He now comes out. This is how we got him. He now he's been placed next door to me. He now comes out his cell as we get unlocked for social. I come out mine, and he says, "I'll tell you what, mate. That's one hell of an exaggerated laugh you got there, mate. Nick. We don't use exaggerated. It's not a word you use from the street. You don't use exaggerated on the street. That's not in our terminology. That's got to be terminology from people in another world who move with other cliques. Police, lawyers, middle class, even though they are middle class villains, but you know what I'm saying, they still don't talk like that. And so I said to the boys, right, everybody's wrong, he's wrong. Now to be in there, we've got good jobs, and then one of the top jobs, I don't know if you saw Mr. Lee Elliott from Real Life London Gangsters, he said he was #1 on the serve room. And when you go in these places, yeah, especially when you go in there, yeah, I know good. Unless you know them officers, yeah, and they know you good, let me tell you good. You ain't getting on no hot plate unless you've been there 6 months a year, let me tell you. It's not happening. All of a sudden, when this guy knew he couldn't get close to me, straight down on the hot plate, he just disappeared. Melted into thin air. And it was quite funny because at that time, 3 of us had got stopped in a stolen car. And what I did, I said that the car was brought for travellers, and we didn't ask questions to, so we could avoid any problems. And when they asked about the gun, I said, well, I took it off 2 gentlemen who had it in a carrier bag, and I threw them out of a nightclub. They recognised me, it's kicked off. Another fella's come from, who I know from nightclubs, has seen the row happening, jumped out the car and helped me. And so they dropped the bag and that what was in it, and I'm playing Charlie Potatoes. Gosh. So that took me to the old bank. So I am now going to take you to the Old Bailey on another podcast. So, remember where you saw me first. Remember where you heard me last. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to keep the show alive. And remember this. Crash, how's your father?